How do you handle if your student wants to play the enlightened one? I do that sometimes, maybe. Do you sometimes let them play the game for a while? It's hard to admit that it's not true. Maybe you cannot know. No, I fully let people pretend to me that they're enlightened. I know it sounds really superficial that I do that, but I'm not made of like endless metal that constantly confronts people. Like it's like it's a lot of work confronting people, and when they're ready to see it, they'll see it. But yeah, I've had so many people, like it's the biggest game. I mean, sometimes I confront people, but more in a one-to-one situation. If it's in a talk, then I'll just try my best to hurry it along so they finish preaching. And if it's in a, like if you're just eating lunch or something together and they start doing it, I'll just do my best to eat up and move away. Because I can't endlessly confront people's dynamics, because if I confront that, that's not an easy confrontation. That's going to really hurt them and really make them reactive and really make them hate you. And there's nothing wrong with all of that, but when you're in front of someone or when you're in a talk, you haven't necessarily got time for that. And normally when people is playing the enlightened one, it's like a big defense, and confronting it is going to be a lot of drama. So my best tactic is just to change the subject. So like I have all these different ways to handle it. Like it's a common thing that I get people behaving like the enlightened one, or trying to take over my talks because they think they know more than me. It's so typical. So if I've got a microphone, then, and the audience has a microphone, then I use the microphone to get them away from the microphone and onto someone else. If there's no microphone and it's a retreat, then sometimes I might say things like, yeah, it's best to move on to someone who's got a question, or I just look down, like just look away and wait for them to finish, like not engage with them too much. Yeah, and it depends like how aggressively. If they're really aggressively trying to take over my talk, then I might speak to them afterwards. But so you get all these different dynamics in personalities, and that's a really common one, is that people come, they might not even say they're enlightened, it's just this energy that they know more than you. And it happens more in public talks, and that they want to be the teacher, and then it's like a competition, that they think it's a competition for who gets to speak. And I mean, like I wouldn't be that opposed. Like I do so many talks, like if they really need to speak and really need to get that out of the system, I wouldn't be opposed to getting up and leaving and letting them do that. But firstly, I think that the audience really doesn't want that, and secondly, I can't tolerate to listen to it, so I don't want to sit and have to listen to it, because sometimes people just have to play things out to get that energy out of them. So it's difficult when it comes up. There's so many different ways I deal with it. It's predominantly men that do it, but it is females as well, and everybody is very cunning about the way they do it. So you might get some that come in and they totally like compliment you, and they tell you what a wonderful teacher you are, and then they attempt to take over the talk. So they're complimenting you, and it's so funny, that one, because it's like they're paying you compliments and then they're taking over the talk. You might get people that get very aggressive and say how wrong you are, and just want to argue with you like about it, but want to take over the talk and want to save all the other students from your wrongness and your badness. Then you might get people that think that, not that you're wrong, but you're missing, like you could phrase it in another way, you could put it in another way to people, and that if you phrased it like they did, then everyone would understand. So they try to take over and teach in their way because they think that other people aren't understanding you. Then you might get someone who plays to be your friend, So tries to really be your friend and is acting like they help you and they're supporting you. And then they just come, so every time you say something to someone, they come in with advice afterwards. There's so many different ways it happens. And yeah, it's like I can't say I personally enjoy those dynamics because it hurts me, hurts my body to have to sit and listen to it. But confrontation of it is too complex in a talk or at a retreat sometimes. It's too big a dynamic. There'll be too much fireworks. So, or there'll be too many, it'd be too difficult. So the best that I can do is just try my best to shut it down and have it last as less time as possible. So yeah, if I give you a question. If you're a teacher, everyone knows exactly, like they've dealt with it so many times.